Good day, everybody. Welcome to 20 Minutes on Ice, powered by the Garage Door Sports Network. I'm your host, Ryan, and as always, in the co-host position, we have Nick. Got a great show coming up for you again this week, so let's get right to our opening face-off. Today on 20 Minutes, lots going on in the world of hockey. We have possible changes coming to the draft lottery. Pittsburgh Penguins made some front office hires. The Red Deer Rebels will be living at their arena for the WHL season. Patrick Laine was benched by John Tortorella. That and a whole bunch more. Plus, we have our usual segments to close out the show. But first, my co-host, the only person to win a hardest shot competition with a wrist shot, Nick McVicker. Nick, how are you this week?
I'm good, and that's actually true because I can't do a slap shot.
No, I can't either.
I've never been able to do a proper slap shot. So
No.
anytime we had a competition at practice, it was a wrist shot.
I remember
I won a hardest shot because I was always on the team with Kyle,
who can just fire a puck.
who can wire them.
Yeah.
Of course, they were always at my head.
I remember trying out for my high school hockey team. It was the first time they brought it back in 20 years. And the coach wanted everyone to, curl around at the offside dot, come in with the puck and take a slap shot. And I'm like, oh, man, first thing that we have to do, and I can't do it. And so we all start firing wrist shots because, it was the low end, the minor team, right? The
JV, yeah.
9th grade, 10th grade, that kind of stuff. So we couldn't take a slap shot. A couple guys could, but yeah,
But those are the guys that were already on the team.
needless to say, we didn't make the team there. But quite an interesting week in the hockey world this year. This
Year.
It's been an interesting year, let's say that. But
It's felt like a year.
yeah. Well, at least we're getting through the season. Lots of games postponed as we expected. The North Division, though, doing a good job, kind of keeping things
Chugging
together.
along. Almost had one.
But it was a false positive. So, but everything was dealt with there. Sounds like rapid testing though is coming to the NHL so that these players aren't spreading it after the fact.
Yep.
So that's good news. We got an opportunity here to get right to the Barks and Hubie tracker. What's the official name here, Nick?
Barks and Hubie watch, dude.
The Barks
every
and
time.
Hubie watch. It for me. You're tracking. I'm not watching them. I'm allowing you to track them, and this is based on the fact that I think Jonathan Huberdeau is a better player than Alexander Barkov. It doesn't mean Barkov's trash, even though that's how Nick perceived.
It seems like
Nick, what's the update this week? I believe they both had good weeks. On top of that, Florida is doing pretty well this season.
Yeah, they are, and I think they're doing better than all people expected, including you and me, Ryan. Sorry,
Agreed.
Got to call us out there a little bit.
Yes.
We thought they were going to be middle to bottom part of this division. I thought a little bit higher than you. I think I had them one place higher, but still, I didn't have them very good. But they're playing well. And Barks and Hubie watch. Huberdeau did what he normally does. 3 points, 3 games. Can't really complain. All 3 assists for Huberdeau, which is a bit of a surprise, but at the same time, he has 11 assists out of his 15 points this year. So
he makes other people better. Plus, he had the hat trick. He or Barkov had the hat trick last week.
Huberdeau had the hat trick.
So really, he's done his goal scoring in 3 games this year.
And 2. He
2
has a hat
games.
trick and then 1 other goal.
He's making the other players around him better.
Fair enough. And Barkov had a bit of a slower week. He only had 1 point, 1 assist in their win over Tampa on Thursday, the 11th. So not a great week for Barkov, but at the same time, I mean, he still has he has averaging just under a point a game. Huberdeau's just over a point a game, so it's going to be close all the way down to the wire, my friend.
I heard more Barkov rumors coming up. It's kind of just in passing. I find the TSN insiders mention it here or there. That
He always seems to be available.
Well, I guess the feeling is amongst insiders that he's not re-signing in Florida. And they may be looking at moving him rather than the first opportunity they have to re-sign him is this summer.
Yeah.
But if we're already talking that possibly teams are inquiring and everyone other than Florida has the impression that he's available, that will be very interesting. But we do have lots of news and notes from around the league. So let's jump right into that. Once again, we'll refer back to the TSN insiders who were reporting, Pierre LeBrun specifically, that there might be some changes coming to the draft lottery. No specifics were given, But apparently the point of contention was a lot of teams thought that Detroit kind of got screwed in the 2020 draft lottery, where they were awful, and they had to pick fourth. I don't know where you fall on this, Nick, but I believe that the draft lottery did what it was supposed to do and discouraged teams from tanking. Here's what can happen to you if you tank on purpose. I don't know where you sit on that.
Right. And I get it in that sense, in that you don't want teams to tank. And that's the toughest thing about this, is that if you take the lottery away, then teams will be encouraged to tank. But let's be honest, Detroit wasn't tanking last year. Detroit was just awful. They didn't have the pieces, and they haven't had the pieces for a couple of years, and you could see them going down and down and down. It wasn't that they were not trying, but they just didn't have the players to compete, especially in the Atlantic Division, which we now can consider probably the strongest division. Normally,
the normal Atlantic.
now that we see these teams all spread out, they're beating up on their other divisions. But when you have to play each other 4 times a year, you're going to lose a bunch of games. It's tough because, like, I don't think that Detroit should have picked fourth last year. They were 23 points worse than the second last team in the league. Like, when you are that bad and not on purpose, like, you should be getting a top 2 pick. Like, I feel like that should have been it needs to be a modified lottery where, depending on how far back you finish, you should get a bit of a higher percentage to pick in the top 2.
I feel
in
like,
my opinion.
I feel like that mindset, and I think a lot of the teams have the same mindset that you have. For me, it's the wrong mindset. They entered the season without an understanding then of, if they have that mindset, of what the possibilities are. Their expectations were not reasonable, were not within the rules. They should have entered the season. And I don't know if it was Detroit specifically that complained about the draft lottery, but
no, apparently it was most of the GMs having an issue with it. Most of the GMs said that there's no way Detroit should have picked fourth.
Okay.
Bill Daly confirmed it Thursday after the insiders thing came out. I think it was Wednesday or Tuesday this week. And he just said, yeah, like, most of the GMs had a problem with what happened last year because of how bad Detroit was. And at the same time, it's not like they intentionally tanked. Like, they knew what the chances were. They understood, but they were just so bad because they didn't have the players.
So these teams should understand what the current lottery system entails. Anyone who misses the playoffs has a chance to take the number 1, number 2, and number 3 spots. And if you are the worst team in the league, it should be approached as, we're going to have, at worst, the fourth overall pick. That's how it should be approached. Not, we deserve the first or second overall pick. Because
and I think they knew that going into last year. I think everyone understood that. I think it's just, when you see a team as bad as, and historically bad as Detroit was last year, it raises some questions like, well, should they really be relegated to the 4th pick if granted the lottery, right? That's the question that everyone's having, is should it be a modified system where, if they're that far back, like if you're more than 20 points back from the second last team in the league, should your odds be increased or something? Like, not saying there shouldn't be a lottery, but should it be tweaked a little?
I'm okay with the odds being tweaked a little, but I do like the chance. It's a lottery. I do like the chance of a team getting that first overall pick, like when the Rangers got Lafreniere. I mean, and that's a different story with Lafreniere. Like, it's kind of cringy at this point, but you still give him his first season.
He's not played bad. We need to make that very clear. As a player, he has not played bad. He's just not putting the puck in the net. And I don't think he's on the right line currently in New York, and that's a whole nother issue. But as like a player, he's not playing the game horribly. He's just not putting the puck in the net like everyone expected.
But his
need
role,
to make that very clear.
His role, he might not have a role this year, which is, as you mentioned, the problem. But his role will be to put up points, score goals, put up points,
100%.
And it's not happening right now. So that's another thing to get into. But we'll see if changes come to the draft lottery. And so, from my point of view, expectations need to change. From everyone else's point of view, and it's fine. It's a negotiable point. The actual draft lottery percentages need to change. Let's get to Pittsburgh, where they've hired Ron Hextall as the general manager. This was my pick. Not that I knew anything. This was my pick, though, when kind of that list of names originally came out a couple weeks ago. And then I guess the curveball was hiring Brian Burke as president of hockey operations as well, pulling him away from Sportsnet, which is a loss for TV, but a gain for the Pittsburgh Penguins. I like Ron Hextall. I liked him as a player. I like the job he did in Philadelphia. He was a little too patient, apparently, for ownership, I guess, in Philadelphia. But I guess he can be patient if they go that way in Pittsburgh. What do you think of the hirings here, Nick?
The Berkey one was kind of out of left field. I wasn't really expecting that for sure, but he's been there, done that with a couple teams now, and it's not necessarily a bad move. I like Hextall as well. The thing is though, is he's a Philly guy. Like let's remember that he was a Flyer when he played. He was a Flyer before. So how is that going to work with the Pittsburgh mentality? We don't know. We're going to have to see. I don't think it'll be an issue, but if he wants to change one thing or another, like
I believe his father played for the Penguins, though. His father played for the Penguins.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm not saying he won't fit with the Penguins, but if he has some like every locker room has its own little thing, right? Every organization has its own little thing. He's been so long involved with the Philadelphia Flyers, back to his playing days. If he tries to bring something in, right, will it be adopted or will there be pushback? And if there's pushback, how is that handled? I guess is more the question that I have, because they're so heavily against each other. I mean, state rivals are going to have that. It'll just be interesting to see how the first little blip comes up. And if people are like, oh, you're a Flyer guy.
We'll have to wait and see, because as we discussed when Rutherford resigned, I guess it really depends on how the Penguins do this year.
Exactly.
And then that'll set all the wheels in motion. I haven't heard of a press conference yet or any words from Hextall about the direction. I'm sure there was a press conference, but I didn't get
It really wasn't, honestly. It was kind of just announced and they took over.
Yeah. Yeah. So I mean, that would be set up probably by your president of hockey operations in some form. So they didn't have that. Now they have that with Brian Burke. I did tweet out, and I always find it funny that, when people talk about, or when Brian Burke talks about the Pittsburgh Penguins getting Crosby, he always gets pretty annoyed and says they won a goddamn lottery. So I wonder how he feels about Sidney Crosby now.
Oh, I don't think he ever had an issue with Sidney Crosby.
No.
Player.
No. But yeah, I wonder how he feels about the Penguins having Sidney Crosby now. So that'll be interesting. How about the viral picture that went around the hockey world? The Red Deer Rebels will be living at their home arena for the 27-game bubble
24.
season. 24, 27, something like that. WHL season. The Rebel. This is kind of cool. It's just 27 games. At least they're getting in some games. But living at the arena, I mean, they're going to bond as a team. They're also might get sick of each other because they're all living in the same space. It's still a brief amount of time. It's a really interesting experiment to see how it goes. And I don't know if other teams are going to be using Red Deer's arena, but how they, Red Deer's living there, how they're going to react with other things going around. It's just a really interesting situation to keep an eye on.
Yeah, and originally when I thought it, I'm like, okay, this is going to be really interesting for the players, right? Like, you never get an experience like this at the rink. You're always there. So, I mean, you get to use the facilities, workout rooms, anything like that will be available, right? Which is something that you don't get during the season normally because you have to travel to the rink. You have to get there. The time is just sometimes not worth it. The kids will always be there. But my biggest issue is that these are high school kids, most of them. Like, we can't forget that. A lot of these guys on the Red Deer Rebels are high school age kids.
Will
They're
they
be
doing
gone from their houses for 2.5 months, roughly, if the schedule is normal? That's a long time for high school kids to be away from their parents. And I know that sounds really weird because they're high schoolers. They don't want to be around their parents. But when you're gone for that long, how is that going to play a toll on their mental health and their mental capabilities on the ice? Like, that was the next place my mind went to. And I think it will be fine. And I know the Red Deer Rebels will do everything in their power to make sure that the guys are okay. But that is a genuine concern, and it's something that we have to keep an eye on with the Rebels.
It will be interesting to see if there's any sort of fatigue there. I mean, normally they live with billet families, right? So they're not necessarily coming home to their parents. Some might.
Fair.
Some might. But will the team attempt to replicate some sort of billet situation at the arena? Like when they go to those beds that are in the private boxes of the picture that we saw, is that you got to have a hockey free zone. And when you're living in the arena, are you truly ever getting that? And I think the answer is no, but it'll definitely be interesting to keep an eye on the Red Deer Rebels. I don't think it'll have any effect early in the season.
No.
It'll be late or into the playoffs to see how that affects them, and whether or not they become fatigued. But
right. And you make a good point that they're not necessarily going home to their parents in a normal season with the billets, but having those people away from the rink that aren't your teammates, like as much as you love your teammates, let's be clear, like you usually form a family bond with your teammates, but you need you need a family outside of the rink that can just de-stress a little and not worry about, hey, let's compete in NHL or let's compete on the ice, right? You need that step away.
Yeah. So we'll see where that goes. Red Deer Rebels, that's something else to keep an eye on for this season, and see how the WHL modified season works out. We will be right back with more 20 Minutes on Ice.
Hey everyone, this is Irfan Manju from Touchline Thoughts. We are an all-soccer podcast hosted by yours truly with guests every episode. We provide news, analysis, and opinions every episode as well. Touchline Thoughts is powered by the Garage Door Sports Network, and you can listen to us on your favorite podcatcher. Cheers.
So Nick, since we last talked, more drama in Columbus, and then a big wet blanket put over that drama to kind of knock it out.
That's an interesting way to put it.
Patrick Laine benched in his third or fourth game, benched by John Tortorella.
I think it was third.
Yeah, they didn't want to share why it happened, and then kind of rumors trickle out that he mouthed off, and it must have been so severe, mouthed off to an assistant coach to the point where he's not playing half a game. A guy who puts the puck in the net for you, he's not going to play.
And has been putting the puck in the net for you. Let's be clear. I think he has a goal in every single game or something stupid
he
like that.
He didn't have a goal in his first game, but yeah, he's got what, 4, as of this recording, he's got 4 or 5 for the Blue Jackets. So obviously the benching lit a fire under him, but I like, I believe it was Ken Campbell of the Hockey News, and I like what he tweeted out, that, Laine said, yeah, I made a mistake. They were right to bench me. And so for now, it puts out the fire until it happens again. And it's John Tortorella, and you would have to think you just wait. You're waiting for the next incident.
Yeah, but I mean, if you actually listen to the press conference afterwards, and you listen to what Laine said and what Torts said and what even other players said relating to it, it sounded like the conversation was had in the locker room, and it was explained to not just Laine, but the rest of the team what had happened for those of them who didn't know. And Laine was taking responsibility. He knew that what he said was wrong, and you can't be saying that kind of stuff. I don't know. We don't know what was actually said, by the way, because
we'll never know.
And I'm okay with that. It sounds like it was something that shouldn't be said, and he admitted to it and said, listen, that's on me. I should not be saying stuff like that.
Now, what kind of...
And I shouldn't be acting that way.
Yeah, what kind of ego, though? I guess when you're good at hockey, you develop a bit of an ego. Who walks onto a brand new team and has the guts to go over the line verbally with an assistant coach? Are you kidding me?
Well, it sounded like even the coach admitted, the assistant coach admitted to Torts that it was like a heat of the moment thing, and they were both kind of going back and forth, but then Laine really crossed the line.
When you're the new guy in anything, pretty much, you just, at some point, you just shut your mouth. Most people do.
Yeah.
Not Patrick
I
Laine.
agree. But it sounds like he understands what happened. And then he goes out and has an absolutely incredible next game. I think he led the team, or led the forwards at least, in ice time in the game after. So I don't think it's going to be a big issue. And it sounds like both sides have kind of come to the understanding, this can't happen again, or else you're going to sit again, sort of thing. So I think it will be okay. I don't think it's going to be a big issue, but we said it when the trade happened. Torts is Torts. He has a set of rules, and until you accept the set of rules, you're going to find yourself in the middle of the bench not seeing ice time. Laine finally saw what that meant because he didn't really have that. Let's be honest. That wasn't happening in Winnipeg.
No.
He wasn't getting benched.
We'll
He
see.
was not playing well, but that's a whole other issue.
We'll see where Laine ends up in his career. I mean, this seems to me like an excellent goal scorer who's probably going to bounce around, maybe play with 4 to 5 teams throughout his career.
I do want to see how this affects the rest of the season. If he honestly responds and says, listen, I now understand Torts and Torts can get the best out of him, he might stay in Columbus just because of the coach, right? You see that sometimes. Sometimes it's a coaching style thing that a player really, really appreciates. You see it a lot more in soccer. I can tell you that for a fact. There's players who have bounced around teams because the coach has bounced around and they follow that coach, or that coach goes out and finds those players and signs them. It's just a comfortability. I don't know what word I'm looking for. What a word am I?
Comfort issue.
It's a comfort issue. And to have a player, I think if Laine can respond to what just happened and take it as, okay, I now know where the line is. And if I don't cross that line, he's going to keep me in the good books and I'll stay on the ice and I can go put up points because he seems to be enjoying it. 5 points in 6 games as a Blue Jacket.
For me,
that's good production.
It's excellent production. For me, I think Patrik Laine is relishing the idea of unrestricted free agency, which is still a couple years away, I believe, for him.
Yep.
And I think when that comes up, it will be the highest profile market on the first line. It doesn't matter what team he's playing on currently, how well they did. For me, I think Patrik Laine wants to be, and he can put the puck in the net. So if he can put up, then go ahead, go find that spot. But for me, that's.
But does he turn into Mike Hoffman?
We'll see. I don't think Hoffman's at a Laine goal scoring.
I'm just saying, like, similar situation. Obviously, Laine will have a few more suitors, but
yeah. So
we saw Hoffman, who's been a 30 goal scorer for the last few years,
couldn't find anything.
Almost not find something before the season started.
And that may be pandemic money related, but we'll see where that goes. It's going to happen all over again at the end of this season. So how about Vegas's golden helmets, Nick? They put these on against Anaheim. There may have been another game where they popped these on their lids. These are chrome or shiny gold helmets. They wore them with the gray.
They're chrome.
Chrome. They wore them with the gray uniforms. It looked absolutely ridiculous. I believe in EuroLeagues, I don't know if they still do it, but the leading scorer of the team gets like a silver helmet.
No, it's the leading scorer of the league in, I think it's the DEL.
The German league.
The German league, I think.
It looks
like a gold helmet.
It looked like that. And
except they're all wearing them.
I was caught off guard that they did it with the gray uniform. I really thought it would go well with their new
they wouldn't match.
Gold
They're two
alternate.
Golds.
They are two different golds. The shiny gold uniform doesn't show up on TV. We're recording on a Sunday, and I was watching Vegas played Colorado tonight, and they were wearing their gold uniforms, but the shine doesn't show up, and they just look like.
But I didn't think it would.
Yeah, it just looks like a mustard uniform. But these helmets, they definitely show up on TV.
Yeah, they're awful.
They are awful.
They remind me. Okay, I don't know if you remember this. It might have been last year or the year before, but the LA Kings had the chrome buckets when they played Colorado in the
Stadium series. Yeah, that was. Was that last year? I think
it was last year because you and me were talking about the jerseys when we were working together.
Yeah, that feels like an eternity ago now.
It is.
Yeah,
but they're awful. Like, they don't make sense unless you're going with like chrome gloves to match or a chrome logo. It looks stupid. And I'm sorry. First of all, chrome should be very, very limited use. I think if you're going to go chrome on the helmet, you go with like a chrome logo on the helmet. That might be cool. But to go a full chrome bucket, like, you're just asking for problems, I think, in my opinion. I don't like it when it was in the DEL for the highest scorer. I barely like it when it's used for college football because a bunch of college football teams use it, like Oregon in them.
It's Vegas, though, right? They can get away with anything, any kind of look. They're going to try any kind of look.
Because they don't have a history, I think, is the key.
Like, maybe they could have worked with the reverse retros just because it's so ridiculous. Or maybe when they're playing in Lake Tahoe next week, then they're going to wear the reverse retros, and then you're out there. Why not throw them on a shiny helmet? I don't know. It was just, It was so
Stupid.
Vegas, but it was almost too gaudy.
It was too Vegas.
Yeah,
Like it
too
was
much
way
Vegas.
too Vegas for Vegas even.
It was Vegas, the Vegas Strip opening in the middle of a pandemic. That's what it was. So
I don't like them, but
No.
they're not for me.
no, someone did like them. So that's
Someone
fine.
has to have liked them.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Everyone I know didn't. So
They got through several rounds of testing and approvals so
we
to
hope
get on the ice.
We
You
hope it went through several. It could just be one person
You're right.
deciding, yep, we're going Chrome.
You're right. The Blues and Coyotes are, by the time you've listened to this, they've played 7 games. As of this recording, they've split the first 6. This is all because of postponements, and they're pretty much the only 2 teams available to play each other based on schedule happenstance. This has actually been entertaining. I'd say it's this season, right? It's just a this season thing. It's stuff you got to accept. But you mentioned that the social media teams were having a field day with this stuff.
They were loving it. And you know what? You kind of have to. Like,
Have fun.
Think about all the craziness that has gone on this year and the fact that you can only play 6 or 7 teams depending on which division you're in. So I think it was Saturday night, and you're looking at the social media, you're scrolling through Twitter, and all of a sudden the Coyotes come up and they make a joke to the St. Louis Blues like, "You guys ready for another round?"
I saw
You kind of just have to have fun with it.
I saw one of the teams tweet out, "Can we please play someone else?"
Yeah. And I mean, like, I think the teams are just going through it like it's just normal games. And the nice thing is I think all 3 jerseys for both teams have been used in the series. So they're trying to rotate things because I know Arizona used their reverse retros on Saturday. I think St. Louis has used they've used at least 2, but I think they might have used 3 jerseys as well in the series. So you're not seeing the same colors all the time. So it's kind of nice.
St. Louis has 5 jerseys this season. They're wearing
5?
home
4.
home road.
Home road.
And then they got their vintage alternates. Then they have their
the Kachinas, yeah.
no, it's St. Louis. I'm talking St. Louis.
Oh,
here.
sorry, St. Louis.
Yeah. So they have the vintage
Oh,
alternates.
the light blue with the
yeah,
yellow,
the old
right?
winter classic ones. Then they have their reverse retros, which are red. So now we're at 4 jerseys, and they will be wearing the actual retro, the blue version of that from the 90s. They will be wearing that for a couple games this season. So they have 5 jerseys.
Yeah.
The LA Kings, another team that are going to have 5 jerseys this season.
And the Leafs, aren't they?
Leafs have 4.
Are they only going with 4 this
Yeah.
year? They're going with that one. I know that.
The St. Pats, that's coming up next in March. Yeah, next month. So
Can't wait.
I do like the St. Pats, right? Two games out of the season, and you're done, and it's topical. And
I'd like it more. I'd like more games in them because I think they're good jerseys.
they're good jerseys, but I'm fine with the 2. Like, don't overdo it. And I'm totally on board with the Leafs being so classic that you don't even kind of sniff an alternate jersey. You got your blue, you got your white. That's how it's done. So I'm okay with that. But
well, that's because we saw what happens when they try to do alternate jerseys, and we get that reverse retro monstrosity that they're wearing this year.
I haven't seen one person say those are cool. Even my 8-year-old son looked at those and said, "Dad, the Leafs have ugly jerseys."
They're wrong.
I'm like, "No, son, no, that's not real. Those aren't real. They just have to wear them. Contractually obligated to wear those this year."
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
So-
do miss the arenas one, though, that they had a few years ago.
Oh,
that one was a beautiful.
yeah, for the Centennial. I do like that. I thought something like a white version of that would have been cool for reverse retro.
Yeah, we talked about that.
Yeah,
though,
even a
and they
green version
they
of the
decided
St.
not,
Pats. No,
so-
nope, they did what they wanted. So the Leafs got blue and gray, but it's just going to be this year, and then we're done with it. Still to
burning
come
them.
on 20 Minutes on Ice. We're going to fire up the randomizer, but we will be coming back next with our players of the week. Welcome back. 20 Minutes on Ice. Coming up next, we have our Players of the Week.
Okay, I want to talk about one thing though, Ryan. Can we talk about one thing? Since we were talking Leafs, it got in my mind. We're gonna go with this. Okay.
Go ahead.
All right. Came up like a week and a half ago now, but Friedman mentioned that there is a player coming to the Leafs, a mystery forward coming to the Leafs.
Really?
Is this mystery forward coming to the Leafs at some point?
As in, did he mention it? Elliot Friedman. Did he mention a trade or?
Yeah, apparently they have like a trade in the works that they're going to get a mystery forward, and he's coming to the Leafs. It was the weirdest. It was part of the Saturday night game, not this weekend, but the one before. And he just mentions mystery forward is coming to the Leafs, and that's what it's been called all week. And some people are talking about like Sam Bennett or players like that. I thought it was going to be like a Cedric Paquette from Ottawa, like a nice bottom six player who can kind of play in all three roles across the forward position. But I wanted to get your opinion on this because what the heck are the Leafs bringing in for as a mystery forward at this point in time?
Okay, I mean, I got to shut this all down. First off, Elliot Friedman, and you said he reported it last Saturday, so I didn't hear him say a word about it this past Saturday on Hockey Night.
Oh, because they didn't ask him again.
Well, I mean, if you're going to leave a suspense, a cliffhanger last week, you might want to tie up those loose ends. So I think that might have faded away and he maybe got a little over anxious on that. First off, and next, the Leafs are doing really, really well this year. Like I like their play, and their record reflects how well they're playing, especially defensively. So why are the Leafs looking at bringing in someone else? And why hasn't it happened yet? Like I have no opinion on this because at this time, I'm not even looking to make changes on this team. They lost some depth due to injury the last month, and they're slowly getting people back. And they didn't miss a beat. In fact, they won, 8 of 10, roughly. So who are the Leafs thinking about bringing in? And it better not be Sam Bennett because he can be a good player, but he can't be reliable.
Right. No, I was just curious who your thought was. I actually think a good player that might make the rounds is Jordan Greenway from Minnesota. Big body guy who can play third line, but could jump into the second line if there's injuries, sort of thing. He might be somebody to keep an eye on. I've also heard like Alex Iafallo's name thrown around, and Tanner Pearson. I was just curious, Ryan. It's been bugging me for a week, and I was going to ask you last week. I didn't ask you last week. I figured I needed to get it in this show.
At this point, I mean, I don't think you want to mess with the mix. The Leafs are really, I believe they're number one team in the league. Are you really making that many improvements? Are you really making that big of an improvement? And if you change the third and fourth line, are you really altering your team that much? Because the third line seems pretty set. The fourth line has been cycling through players this year, trying to find
it last year too.
Yeah. So, but you know what? The defense looks good. The structure looks good this year.
Defense needs to tighten it up just a little.
Okay.
They give up a lot of goals.
Yeah, but they outscore. I'm okay with
they
their
outscore.
balance.
No, I'm not saying that they don't outscore, but when it comes down to playoffs, you got to tighten that up just a little bit.
Yeah, they got a season to. I'm comfortable with where the Leafs are right now, but we'll make sure to get a Leaf Talk podcast going in the future, or tuck one in on 20 Minutes on Ice. But let's get right now to our players of the week. Players of the Week brought to you by NHL.com. Let's look at.
Brought to you by us.
Brought to you by granola. When you're hungry, granola. Rookie of the Week. I'll start us off. Never heard of Jason Robertson of the Dallas Stars until I was looking at rookie stats for this week. But Jason Robertson had a hell of a week. 3 games, a goal, 4 points. +3. I do like that the rookie averaged 14 minutes of ice time and was able to put up some points. All of his points last week were even strength points. So it's extremely hard to score 5-on-5. I respect anybody that can put the puck in the net at 5-on-5. So Jason Robertson, my rookie of the week.
Nice. It's a good one. Dallas has not been playing great as of late after they started off ridiculously hot. But No, Robertson played a pretty good week, and you were going back an extra game to the Sunday last week, and he's put up another goal in that game. So you look at it, he's playing well. That's a good shout. I'm going with another middling teams player, and that's the Chicago Blackhawks defenseman Nicolas Baudin. He had 2 goals and an assist in 3 games this week. Can't complain about that kind of production from a defenseman. He was averaging 14 minutes of ice time, basically 14:53. He played a bit of time on the power play, but all his points came at even strength. He scored on both of his shots this week, so 100% shooting percentage because that's important. He looked good, and he looked ready to play the last 2 weeks or so, and he's finally getting more time. I think the coaches are noticing it and giving him some more ice time. So good on Baudin.
Yeah, I think a rookie defenseman who couldn't put up positive stats across at
On a
any
crappy
point,
team.
at any point on their stats line is definitely catches my eye, because it's very hard to play defense, especially for a rookie, and it takes longer to develop defensemen most of the time than it does forwards. So,
And he was a +2 as a defenseman for the Chicago Blackhawks.
Chicago had a good week too. So let's go to goalie of the week. Nick, this week I have Mike Smith from the Edmonton Oilers.
Wow. Smith.
Now there was goalies this week who did play more games than Smith, but I got to give him credit because he came back 2 games after his injury here. One of them was a shutout. One of them was 1 goal against, 9.8 or 0.985 save percentage this week. So it's an acknowledgement of this guy coming back from injury and playing at an extremely high level and giving the Oilers something this week that they were looking for, which is elite goaltending. He can't sustain it, but this week he gave them elite goaltending.
Yeah, no, he definitely looked good. He played his part for sure. Not much more to say other than that. So
he was very good.
Mike Smith credit.
Yep.
My goalie is one that I've used before, but that's a credit. That's just a credit to how he's playing so far this year, and that's Semyon Varlamov. 3 games this week, picked up 2 wins. The game that he lost was against Pittsburgh when they lost 4-3.
Shootout.
In a shootout. So, I mean, he kept his team in it. He's faced a lot of shots this week.
He's doing his bit for the Islanders.
Yeah. So he's doing what he needs to. He even picked up a shutout, so can't really fault him on any of those games, and he's doing what he needs to do to keep the Islanders relevant. And outside of him, there's nothing really spectacular about this Islander team this year. And we talked about it last week when they were near the bottom and at the bottom of our rankings, or 2 weeks ago when they were at the bottom of our rankings. They looked awful. They had a good week this week. Does that mean they're going to look awful again next week? Who knows? We'll find out.
You want to pile on with another quality week, but Varlamov, we've talked about him a couple times, like you mentioned, and he would have been my number 2 pick. But I find it interesting how he takes a step up after Thomas Greiss leaves, and you don't have that platoon system, and now the net's his, and he's proving why he has taken the net and deserves the net.
For sure.
All right, player of the week. Here we go. I'm taking Cam Atkinson of the Blue Jackets. 4 games, 7 points.
Surprise.
Yeah, 3 of those were goals. I do love the stat. 2 shorthanded goals this past week. That's fantastic. Love a player that can put him in shorthanded. And he had a +4 rating. Just a guy who plays for John Tortorella. He plays the Tortorella way. And on a Columbus team, good week. Deserves to be honored for player of the week.
Yeah, no, for sure. I like that shout. And you mentioned the 2 shorthanded goals. If you're putting the puck in the net shorthanded, you're really offering your team a lot more on the penalty kill than you need to. So good on Atkinson, and hopefully he can keep it going. I had a tough time this week kind of figuring out who I wanted to put in, and I've gone back and forth in my head a couple times. But I will be taking Ryan O'Reilly from the St. Louis Blues. 5 points in 3 games, 2 goals, 21 and a half minutes of ice time average this week. That you gotta love. And the other thing is he's winning almost 58% of his faceoffs, which is not an easy task. Let's be honest. Like, if you're taking as many faceoffs as Ryan O'Reilly takes, because he is their faceoff guy in every single zone. You can put him out in the defensive zone. You can put him out in the offensive zone. He always is there. You're going to have days where you're just not on and you're facing the top guys all the time. You're going to have days where you're going to struggle, but he doesn't seem to struggle. He's really, really good at it. And I know it's an underrated stat, and I know you hate face-off percentage, Ryan. I know I'm aware of that fact.
I have no problem. It's fine. I love face-off percentage, especially when it's as drastic as a guy winning 2 out of every 3 draws. But one thing that highlights for me that you chose Ryan O'Reilly is all those games are against the Coyotes this week. So it's essentially a sample size of playoff stats. Not surprised to see Ryan O'Reilly, as part of the top group of players this week, because essentially they've been playing a practice playoff series. And you're playing against you're taking draws against the same guys every game. You're playing against the same guys every game. And that's what you get in the playoffs. Ryan O'Reilly proving why he won the Conn Smythe Trophy and why, again, he's a guy you got to earmark for the playoffs coming up this year as well.
Yeah. And not to mention, only one of his 5 points came on the power play. Everything else was even strength. So
beautiful. And he's
gotta love it.
Love the even strength points because it's so hard to score even strength.
Yeah.
Nick, it is time to get to our 3 hot, 3 not. This is where each of us chooses 3 teams. We are given either the hot teams or the not teams. This week, I have the hot teams, so I'll start us off.
Do you want me to go first and put the down first, or do you want to hit it up?
You know what? I'll let you go first. That way we can finish on a positive note. So you give us the 3 losers of this week, otherwise known as the 3 not hot teams.
The 3 not so hot. Well, the first one that I'm going with is it's the New York Rangers, man. And they are in a little bit of a downturn. They're not playing well, and I know it's tough when you have that division, but it is not looking good for the team in blue. 3 losses this week. They had their game postponed tonight. Now, I will give them a little credit. They lost to Boston twice by 1 goal each time. One of them was a shootout game. And they lost to the Islanders in the other game by 2. So it's not like they're necessarily getting blown out in these games, but they're not winning. And when it comes down to it, you need to win games in order to move forward. And the Rangers just aren't doing it. They're not getting a whole lot of production offensively from players that they need to get production from, like Alexis Lafreniere, which we mentioned earlier. He's not putting the points up, which is unfortunate. But even outside of Lafreniere, there's a lot of guys who were supposed to put up points that just aren't doing it. And when you can't put the puck in the net, you're in trouble.
Absolutely. All right. Yeah. Number 2 team.
Number 2 is the Dallas Stars. And after a ridiculously hot start.
They are not.
They were hot. They are not hot anymore. This week, they picked up 3 points while losing all 4 games. 3 of them went to overtime or shootouts. So they are getting points, which in the grand scheme of things is not the worst in the world to do. But when you lose to Chicago twice in overtime, question marks have to be going up, because we don't think the Chicago team is supposed to be very good. They're super young, and we keep mentioning their rookies in Chicago like Pius Sutter and Baudin and Kurashov. But if rookies are the ones that are doing it, you need to question and be like, okay, what is going on? Like, let's be fair. And I added their game from last Sunday into the 4, but we could go back even further, and they haven't won. They've won 1 game this month against Columbus.
They've earned their spot on the not list. So, and it's a shame because they started so hot after missing a week and a half due to COVID, but it's kind of, is that catching up with them now?
Yeah, and it's a serious question mark. And if they don't turn it around in the next couple weeks, like, how far back are they going to be in that playoff race at that point? Like, right now they're in the middle of that division, but how far can they fall down, right?
One thing I think you'll find, because of all division play this year, you're only playing within your own division. It may seem like you're so far ahead, or it may seem like you're so far back, but because it's all division games, that race can be made up quicker than what we've seen before. And that just may be a mental state that people will need to get used to.
Yeah, and they're 4 points back as of recording right now with 4 games in hand on the 4th team in the division.
Yeah,
they're sitting 6th.
They got those games to make up. So,
yeah.
And who's your final not team?
The last not team of the week, or can I just say the month? Because holy crap, they've been awful since the turn of the calendar. That's the Washington Capitals, man. And we were talking 2 weeks ago. We were talking about them being a hot team. They were riding high. They were doing what they needed to do. Vanasek was playing well. The whole team was kind of coming together. And then they fell off a cliff.
Like, 4 in a row?
Not even like gently down the hill. They jumped off and went boom. 4 straight losses since the turn of the calendar, 3 games postponed. So we have to throw that factor in. And I don't think any of them were because of their team specifically. I think that was Philly and Buffalo having the COVID issues. So we can't really blame Washington for that. But 6-3, 7-4 losses in their last 2 games, 13 goals against in 2 games is not allowed. And then you add the other 9 goals in the other 2 games for the month, and you're talking 22 goals against in 4 games. You're almost averaging 6 goals against a game.
And Samsonov lost his NHL spot. They sent him down to Hershey.
Well, that might have been just because they were trying to get him some game time to get back into the swing after COVID. Like we talked about it. How is COVID going to affect a goalie health-wise? How is it going to affect him to be able to play a 60-minute game? That's a question that they needed to answer. So they probably sent him down for that reason.
Now, at the same time, I'll argue that you need to be aware of that this year as an NHL player. If you get COVID, it is going to affect your status as an athlete and your ability to perform. So, I mean, we heard the new guidelines come out from the NHL. The new the COVID protocol guidelines come out from the NHL this week, where they advise players to stay home unless you're going to the rink. Yeah. Who wasn't doing this anyway? I mean, you have a responsibility to your team to do what you can.
Wait a minute. Is this perform. A recording? I think you said this last
I have
week.
said this before, and this isn't even the proper segment to get into this, so I won't go too far into that. But
I think the reason they sent him down was because they wanted to see how he would react after COVID. I don't think it's necessarily him losing the starting spot. I think we have to see how he can play after dealing with COVID and the effects of COVID. So I do think he gets called up in 2 weeks.
We'll see. Yeah, absolutely.
Once they figure out, okay, well, this is what we got with him now. We'll call him back.
Definitely, they'll call him back up if they lose more games in a row.
Well,
so.
Yeah, that's a whole nother issue. But I wouldn't necessarily blame Vanasek. He's been left out to dry. When there's teams scoring 6 goals, yes, a couple of them might be against you, but that means your team is leaving you out to dry a lot.
Yeah. Confidence is high, though, that Washington will turn it around. I don't see them as a team missing
Your confidence is high. I don't know. I'm not 100% confident right now.
Okay. Let's get to 3 teams that do have confidence because they are on the hot list this week. I'll start with the Edmonton Oilers. They got everything they needed this week except for superstar scoring from McDavid and Draisaitl. But they got defense, they got goaltending, they got wins. They were 3-0 this past week, 9 goals for, only 3 against in the 3 games. I already talked about the shutout that Mike Smith had, and the stat that jumped out for me, 100% PK percentage. They killed off every penalty that they had this week, and all 3 of their wins were on the road. Now, 2 of them were against Ottawa, but 1 of them was against Montreal, another team kind of on a bit of a slide. But Edmonton got everything they wanted this week, and they're on the hot list.
I would like to point out Montreal's slide is coming against Toronto and Edmonton, the 2 top teams in the division outside of themselves. So slide is very
1 to Ottawa as well.
They did lose 1 to Ottawa.
Yeah.
You're right, but then they came back and absolutely murked them the next game.
That's
So,
well, yeah. Everyone's going to do that to Ottawa. My number
Yeah.
2 team on the hot list, Vegas Golden Knights, 4-1.
I had a point about Edmonton I wanted to make, but okay.
All right, the ship sailed on Edmonton.
Sailed.
We've crossed the border to Vegas now. 4-1 this week. That includes their win tonight against Colorado. That was a 1-0 win. I know. I want to see Colorado turn it around, but it just seems a bit stumbly right now.
They have barely played in the last 2 weeks.
Now their goals against works quite good. Vegas had only allowed 9 goals all week. They only put in 13 all week, which was interesting, but they still 4-1. Good team, 40% on the power play, 90% on the PK. They lost to Anaheim, but then they beat San Jose, LA, beat Anaheim, just beat Colorado, as I mentioned. Vegas, my number 2 team on the hot list.
Yeah, and I like what Vegas is doing. The goaltending tandem of Fleury and Laine seems to be working. No real issues there. We haven't heard anything about locker room issues. So
is it a
take
tandem?
it as you will, and you run that if you're Vegas. You run with that as long as you possibly can.
I've seen
And
Fleury more than Laine. Is it really a tandem at this point?
I still think it is a tandem because I think they're both playing, but Fleury seems to have more of the starts right now just because he's hot.
Yeah.
And when you have a goalie who's 35 years old and with the backstory that Fleury has, you ride with him until he starts to struggle because Fleury has the tendency to struggle mid-season. So if you're good, you want to wring as many wins out of that body as you possibly can.
You know, it's funny. We talked about Vegas's gold helmets, but Fleury's gold pads work. It's kind of weird.
I don't like them personally.
Oh, okay. Interesting. I think
I know a lot of people do. And I'm not saying they're horrible. But like I personally don't think that they're the right gold for the Vegas jersey. Like it's like too shiny almost. So I would kind of, if he dialed it back to the actual gold, I probably would be okay with it. But because it's not the exact gold, it kind of just throws my eyes off a little bit.
It's 2 different companies, right? Different golds as well. Adidas
I get
would
it.
have
No,
their
I
gold.
get the logic behind it. I'm just saying, like, for my eyesight, that would probably make it better. But that means absolutely nothing. So.
And my number 1 team, once again appearing on the hot list, Tampa Bay Lightning. I mean, these guys seem.
Can we just retire them, just like we retire Ottawa off the not list? Just retire Tampa.
I think it's understood that this is the best team in the league. I know Toronto sits in first place, but Tampa Bay
played 2 more games.
Yeah, Tampa Bay's got the best points percentage as we record right now. They're consistently good. You see their players at the top of the stats sheet every week when we check them out. So Tampa was 3-1. They started the week off with a 5-2 loss to Florida, but then they took care of Nashville and Florida 6-1, 4-1, and 6-1. So 18 goals for all week. 8 against, and as I mentioned, 5 of those were in the first game of the week, and 50% on the power play. Tampa Bay, I mean, we've said everything. So this is just a dangerous team, and teams need to find a way to shut them down. I don't know if you can right now.
I'm not sure any team in that division can. And we talked about that division not necessarily being the strongest division outside. At the time, we were talking about Tampa and Dallas being the top 2. Now, sure about Dallas either. So I don't think any team in that division can necessarily shut them down. When they go out of the division, it will be interesting to see how they play against the St. Louis's and the Vegas's and the Colorados if they can go back to the way they were playing before COVID. The Bostons, and to be honest, I don't think any team in the North can stop Tampa.
I don't know.
I like the Leafs, but I just don't think any team in the North has the defensive capabilities. They might be able to keep up with them in a shootout just because the Leafs can do that, but I don't think they can stop the offensive prowess of Tampa right now.
This year, when we get to those semifinals in the playoffs, it becomes a crapshoot. A team
It's going to be interesting. It's going to be very interesting, man.
Team that looks strong could suddenly lose out in 4 and look horrible because they've never played that team all season.
It could just be matchups too, right?
Yep.
Like that's what I'm saying. I think if Colorado goes up against Tampa, it could be very interesting just because Colorado is so fast. And I don't know if the Tampa defense can keep up with that kind of offensive speed.
It's just storylines aplenty. So really looking forward to the playoffs this year. All right, Nick, that was 3 hot, 3 not. It's the way we close out the show every week. Are you ready to fire up the randomizer?
I am, Ryan.
Here we go. This week, ice chips. Now, this is our trivia competition where each host comes up with 3 trivia questions. We've banked some trivia questions, so we do have them in the vault. We'll alternate asking them. The first question's intended to be the easiest question, so it's worth 1 point. The last question, the third question, is intended to be the hardest question, so it is worth 3 points. Whoever has the most points after we exchange all 3 of our questions will be determined the winner of this matchup. Nick, you want me to go first, or are you ready to go here?
I can go first. I'll ask first.
All right. Do you have a theme? Or do you just
I have a theme for my questions. I know you have a theme for your questions, so we'll keep it a little bit even. The theme for my questions, Ryan, is jersey numbers.
Okay.
From the current NHL year.
Okay, this is good.
All 3 questions will be related to jersey numbers from the current NHL year. And the first question I am going to ask you, my friend, and this is an easy one.
It's question number 1.
It will be. There's 2 numbers that are used by only one player in the league. One of them is 87, because no one wants to take Crosby's number. Go figure. What is the other number that is used only one time? There's a couple numbers that are used twice, and we'll get into that later. Only one time the number is used.
Okay, I have an idea. I don't have a definitive answer. I was naturally going to say, this is not my answer. I was naturally going to say 97, but Joe Thornton's wearing 97, as is McDavid this year.
There's 4 players wearing number 97, actually.
Interesting. Okay.
I will tell you that. I'll give you that.
All right, so it's definitely not 97.
Would you like to know the other 2? Or
Yeah, might as well. We're talking about it. So
Nikita Gusev.
Oh, really? Yeah.
And Kirill Kaprizov.
Oh, wow. Okay. All right. Very cool. It also could be birth year. We're into that era now. I have an idea. I will guess 69.
No.
Okay. Wasn't there a shark wearing 69 a couple years ago? Maybe.
69 doesn't get used very often.
No.
Yes, I believe you're right. There was one a couple years ago.
Okay.
69 is used 0 times.
Yep.
The number that is used only once that is not number 87.
I'm going to kick myself.
Is number 98.
Real? Oh, 98.
Worn by Mikhail Sergachev.
98. Mikhail Sergachev of the Tampa Bay Lightning. Very good. I love that question. And I didn't get question number 1, so now I'm scared for the next 2. All right, Nick, my trivia questions. The theme is current NHL stats. And I think you're going to get question number 1 here.
I hope so.
As of this recording, we're recording Sunday, February 14th at 10 o'clock in the evening Eastern time. Who leads the NHL in goals as of today, February 14th?
In goals?
Goals.
I'm going to kick myself because I think I know the answer, but now I'm like questioning it.
No, it might be as easy as you think.
I want to say Austin Matthews.
That's correct. Okay. Austin Matthews, 11 goals so far this year.
Yeah, I knew he was leading, but I'm like, he didn't score yesterday, right?
No, but as of now, he's on a 9-game point streak. So
he's on a point streak, but he didn't score a goal.
No, he didn't. No.
Right. So that's what I'm thinking. Okay, this has now been 3 days since then. Maybe someone passed him. So don't like that.
I mean, for me, I know it's easy to think of McDavid and Draisaitl when you think of early MVP candidates, and that's just because they put the points up. But I mean, I also like Matthews in that conversation right now.
Yeah, I think Matthews definitely deserves a credit. I think Marner might sneak into that conversation as well for what he's doing for the Leafs. Both of them deserve a shout. Obviously, we can talk about a couple other players like McKinnon and what he's done for Colorado. And I'm blanking on the name, so I'm not even going to try to continue this conversation. But there's other players who have done great stuff for their teams, and I think they need to be in consideration. I still think McDavid's probably at the top just for what he's doing right now.
Yep. So I think next month we'll have a mid-season awards kind of thing like the Professional Hockey Writers Association also does. So Nick, you're up 1-0. Go ahead with your second question. Your theme, jersey numbers.
My theme is jersey numbers. Yes. So this one's going to be a little bit harder.
Of course, it should be. Yep.
And I'm trying to figure out which one I want to go with.
So many questions.
Well, I got 2 that I kind of like. All right. There is 22 players in the league that wear number 23. So the question is now, can you name 5 players, Ryan, that wear the number 23?
Wow.
5. You got 22 options.
5 players that wear 23.
Yes.
Great question.
A lot of them, a few of them are pretty obvious. So I think you'll get the first few, and then you'll be like, oh crap! Like now I got to think.
You know what? No one's coming to mind, so this is scary. 23. Well, it's not even like a super notable number. I'm trying to go through.
It is the most. Sorry, second most. 13 has the most. Would you like me to go with 13? I'm okay with going with 13. To give you the more options.
I don't know. 23 was your original question. Let's stick with that. And no one's even coming to mind. This is excellent, Nick. 23. Dustin Brown, Los Angeles Kings.
One. There you go. That's one.
Ooh, who wears? No. I'm trying to go through them all.
I can start giving you teams if you really struggle. But.
Yeah, I know. I'm only thinking of one right now. What number is he?
Okay, I'll give you another 20 seconds. If you don't come up with anybody, then I'll start giving you some teams, okay?
I'm good. No one's really coming to mind, so I'm going to end up needing help here. I'm at Philly, Pittsburgh, Ottawa I wouldn't know. St. Louis I wouldn't know. San Jose I wouldn't know. Tampa I can't think of anyone. Toronto.
Tampa doesn't have anyone, so good call on that one.
Toronto, 23. What number is that?
Toronto does have a player that wears number 23, Ryan.
I know. What number does Travis Dermott wear? Blanking. No, you know what, Nick? Don't even give me this question. I mean, you can help me along here, but no one's coming to mind. 23
well,
in Washington.
You got Dermott.
Dermott. Okay, so I got 2. Dustin Brown and Travis Dermott.
I think Coyotes.
Oh, Ekman Larson.
There you go.
That's sort of 3. I needed help to get there.
How about Vancouver?
Who wears 23? Edler. Okay.
Edler. There you go.
All right.
Getting there. And I'll throw in team your way, my friend. So I'll give you half the points for this.
Oh, Sean Monahan. Monahan in Calgary. I'll take 1 point on that. You were a big helping hand. I got a few of them on my own. Give me 1 point on that one.
Couple other names that wear number 23.
Mm-hmm.
Philip Kurashev from Chicago, who I mentioned last week as my rookie of the week. We can also go Alec Martinez from Vegas.
Stanley Cup
number 23.
Stanley Cup winner.
Recently traded Cedric Paquette, so he was an Ottawa Senator. So you were wrong. Ottawa did have a 23.
Never would have known that. Never.
Sam Steele from Anaheim, Jake Studnicka from Boston.
Yeah,
Carter Verhaeghe from Florida, and Marco Rossi, the rookie from Minnesota.
Yep, definitely wouldn't have known a lot of those names. So excellent question again. All right, Nick, my number 2 question, my theme, current NHL stats. Which goalie currently, as of February 14th, has the most losses in the NHL? Which goalie has the most losses?
Logically, you would say Matt Murray. But I'm kind of worried that it's not him.
I'm not giving any indication. I mean,
I know you're not.
You can work it out and then lock in your final answer.
Right, because you get what I'm saying. Logically, you would say Matt Murray because he's technically the starting goaltender for Ottawa, but I know they've been going back and forth a lot with Hogeberg because they want to get him starts.
Murray's injured right now as well, too.
And Murray's hurt.
Yeah.
So
classic
logically,
Murray.
You would say someone on Ottawa. So maybe Hogeberg's actually played more games, so maybe it's Hogeberg. You also have to look at Detroit, but I know they're going with a true tandem, right?
Yeah,
so
they are.
That's 2 goalies, so it's kind of tough there as well. Big sigh.
Washington's been losing a lot recently as well.
Yeah, but I know Vanacek had a lot of wins.
You did, yep.
Before as well. So
Yep.
I don't think he would be close to the bottom of the league in losses, just because I know he had a lot of wins as well.
We have to tell the listeners we're not using the computer in any way.
No, I'm staring at a sheet of paper with all our players of the week for the last 4 weeks.
There is integrity.
Which is not helpful.
There's integrity to these competitions, somewhat.
I'm gonna lock in Hogeberg.
It's
just because it's Ottawa.
Yeah,
I have no other valid reason.
It's logical. You were on the right track with Detroit. Thomas Greiss has 9 losses this year. So. All right, Nick, here we go. We're at 1-1. We're tied 1-1. It's time for your third question, your most difficult question. I'm scared right now because I did not do well so far. But your most difficult question, go ahead.
Okay, there's three double-digit numbers that aren't used this year. 99, obviously.
Yep.
We've already mentioned 69. That means one other number that is not used. And 00, I just count as 0, so it is being used. Or it's not being used.
No, it's against the rules to wear 00.
It's against the rules. So there's one number between 1 and 99.
Double digit.
That we haven't mentioned.
Double digit, right?
Well, yeah, I'll give you that. Yes,
Well,
it's
you
not 1
mentioned
through
that,
9
yeah.
because all of them are being used.
Yeah,
I'll give you that.
And I'm pretty confident that I would say at least up to 40 is being used, but all right.
I will not tell you if that's true.
No. This is this is supposed to be the toughest question. So I really got to think. There's got to be a lot of 90s being used. So I'm not going to think I don't think it's in the 90s. A lot of players born in the 90s playing right now, they're going to wear their birth year on their backs. I'm not going with the 90. 80
I was surprised by this, by the way.
80 has some possibilities here.
Sorry, I should correct myself. I was surprised that there was only 3 numbers not used, and 99 was one of them. I thought there would be a couple more, but there's only 2, and one of them we've already mentioned is 69. There's a reason that 69 does not get used.
99's retired league wide. 00.
Yeah, so don't worry about that.
Yeah, 00 you can't wear. It's against the rules. 69 players are severely discouraged from wearing these.
It's
numbers.
It's not against the rules, but they tell you not to wear it.
Yeah. Okay, thinking about numbers here. Whew.
I love jersey number questions, by the way.
Yeah,
so this is going to become a theme.
Okay, I'm gonna say, just based on reputation, no one is wearing 66.
Are you locking in that answer?
I'm locking in 66.
Are you sure?
I got to go with 66 because I've committed now, and your reaction makes me want to change it, but I got to be honest and stay with 66.
Well, Ryan, unfortunately, you are right.
I thought there would be some young punk who was like, I'm wearing 66.
Joshua Hosang's no longer in the league.
Yeah, well, yeah. And another guy did it, Nick Antropov, used to play for the Leafs.
Yeah, but he did it like before it was a thing not to wear it.
Well, Mario, yeah, I think Mario was in the league, and Antropov
Yeah, that's what I mean.
in.
So it was not really a thing not to wear it. Like
I'll take 66. You guys got 99? Can I wear 99? No? Okay, I'll take 66. That's fine.
Can I just turn it around?
It's like the guy on your beer league team who comes in, yeah, I'll take 99. Are you kidding me? You're going to wear 99? No, you can't play. You got to go. It's like I know Kyle, who we mentioned from the betting house and Garage Door Sports. He wears 69.
But he didn't actually pick that.
Really?
I would like to point that out. He didn't pick that. Everyone else picked that for him because of his nickname.
Okay. All right. And it was also funny to note that the video that was going around, the viral video where the player stole the other player's stick and is skating to the bench with 2 sticks in his hand. Then you just see the black jersey player come streaming across the ice and barrel into the bench to get his stick back. Yeah, the guy who stole the stick, of course he was wearing 69.
There was 2 or 3 number 69s in the video, though. So.
On that teal team, yeah, there's at least 3 of them. So, bunch of douchebags. You can tell you're out there for warm-ups and 3 guys are skating around wearing 69. It's like, oh, and the game's probably at like 11:30 at night too. You just know that's trouble. And that's
trouble. The difference between that and Kyle. Like Kyle was because of his nickname. He didn't actually pick the jersey number. It was picked for him when he decided to put Big Sexy on the back of his jersey.
It's such a douchey move. All right, Nick. I have 1 point. You have 1 point. If you get this question, which I don't think you will.
You have 3 points.
I didn't. Oh, I got 66. Yeah, I got 4 points then. Unless you want to. Okay, you need this to tie. This is going to be really tough though, because you're not likely. This guy is a power play specialist, but you're not likely to think of this guy. So it's not. We'll see here. Who currently leads the NHL in power play goals?
Power play goals.
Power play goals. He is a power play guy. He's a forward. I'll give you that. But is probably not who you're going to think of right away.
I don't know why my head goes to JVR.
Ooh,
'Cause
okay.
we talked about him last week, right?
You've given me enough hints that I'll say JVR is second in the
Yeah,
league in power play goals.
I knew he was doing well. I didn't think he was number one, but he was on my list just because he's been playing really well. Like, give him credit. The guy's playing on the power play and putting the puck in the net.
5 power play goals so far.
Yeah. Oh man.
That's a power play specialist, JVR. He's an in front of the net specialist.
Yeah, he's a big body specialist.
Yeah,
That's what he is. He's
absolutely.
what Simmons is as well for like the Leafs.
Yeah.
This year.
Yeah. Currently leading the league in power play goals. He has 7.
How many goals does he have?
Overall, I don't know, but he has 7 on the power
It's
play.
obviously less than 11. Oh my god.
He plays not in the North Division.
I wasn't thinking North. I'm just trying to figure out which teams have good power play units. That's the question.
Well, I don't even know if this team has a good power play unit. He has 7 goals on the power
Well, if
play.
he has 7 in X amount of games, that means the power play unit has to be working at least a 20% clip. So that's a decent power play unit.
9 goals all season.
9 goals. 9 goals. Who has
Yep.
9 goals, Nick? Come on. As I odds to help me out on this one. 9 goals. Not a superstar. From what you're like, not a superstar. Like not a
right.
McKinnon.
Not right now. He's a former captain. Former captain.
It's not Patrick Marleau, right?
No, it's not Patrick Marleau. I haven't even heard Patrick Marleau's name this season yet.
He's got a couple goals. He's playing okay.
Okay.
Former captain. Who's a former captain?
Former captain.
Oh my god.
You can throw in the towel or you can throw out a name.
No.
He does not play-
I'm putting all the former captains in my head. and
Yeah, he
trying to
doesn't
figure
play
out
for the
who's
team
who.
that he was captain for.
Huh?
He does not play for the team that he was captain for.
I figured as much. When
Okay.
You said former captain.
Well, you still got Dustin Brown out there. He's a former captain playing for the Kings.
No, I know, but when you say former captain, and I know Dustin Brown isn't doing that well for, for the Kings.
He is a right-handed shot, I believe.
Oh crap! That is not who I was about to say.
Crap. Okay, this is very vague, but I'll still. Easton and TaylorMade, the golf company, got together maybe about 10 years ago and made a hockey stick with golf club technology, kind of. It said TaylorMade on the blade. Anyways, this guy was the face of that stick.
Yeah, the RBZ.
No, RBZ was Reebok or CCM. This was
Or not
Easton
RBZ. What was it?
Stealth
The
or something.
white and red one.
Yep, exactly. He was using that.
Former captain. Like I want to say Logan Couture,
No,
Right?
because he's current captain.
but I don't think he wasn't a captain, was he?
He's current captain right now.
What?
Yeah. Logan Couture is the current captain of the San Jose Sharks right now. Who do you think was captain of the
Who
Sharks?
went to Dallas?
Pardon?
Who went to Dallas then from San Jose?
Joel Pavelski.
Pavelski.
Yeah.
Okay. That's who I was thinking.
Yeah.
I don't know why I said Couture. I was thinking Pavelski, but I didn't say Pavelski.
They've gone through numerous captains there in San Jose. Couture, Pavelski, Marlowe, Thornton.
But all of them except Pavelski are left-handed.
Are they? Yeah, that's true. You're right.
Right-handed. Okay, hold on. I just had it in my head too, and then we started talking about Pavelski, and I forgot it.
I'm going to say about 10
not-
seconds here, Nick, and you're going to have to throw out a guess. Shake the answer into yourself. All right, who do you
Mark
got?
Stone.
No, the answer is Joel Pavelski, 7 power play goals.
He has 7 power plays.
He has 7 power play goals, 9 on the year.
Good for him.
Former captain. You're asking me Pavelski questions. I'm like, Do I give him the answer to the question he's asking?
Technically, I got it right.
Which
I
is
said
also,
Pavelski.
you were on the Pavelski trail.
Can I get half a point for that then?
Yeah, I mean,
I'll get 1 out of 3. 1 out of 3 points for that.
okay, I'll take away my point that I gave on your second question because I didn't get that right.
It was fair. You got half of the answer, so you got half the points.
Once again, we stumble our way through trivia here.
But it's good that we're stumbling our way through trivia. We're not stupid smart like we think.
We are severely stumping each other, so we're doing a good job. Trivia is serving its purpose. There's a horn. There's the horn that brings an end to this 20 minutes on ice. It's a horn, but it's the horn. So be sure to subscribe to the show. And if you're watching on YouTube, hit the like button. Follow me on Twitter at Ryan_H16. Follow Nick on Twitter at Nick McVicker. And be sure to follow the show on Twitter and Instagram at 20 Minutes on Ice. Head on over to garagedoorsports.com. Find us under the shows tab. You'll find all the videos, all the podcasts there, plus all the other great shows on the Garage Door Sports Network.
And there's a lot.
There is a lot. So lots of content there. Head on over to the website. You'll find tons there. We will be back next week with more 20 Minutes on Ice. Until then, thank you for listening. Goodbye, everybody.